Why? Because here's how I show you. I talked to you about how by itself frying polyunsaturated fats from vegetable oils are oxidants and cause diabetes and inflammation all over the body. But there's another compound here, and you see here, there's almost no fat in the original, and even if it is, once you fry it, you get to 20 grams, which is 100-fold higher, and it's oxidized, okay? So even if the fish had wonderful, good quality omega-3s, which was a gram, which is how many we take supplements. We take a gram twice a day. This is all you need, you know. And the problem is once you fry it with vegetable oil, you replace that with oxidized, rancid, polyunsaturated omega-6s, and the omega-3s have been also neutralized and oxidized. So you have 5 to 104 more fat. Really, you know, this is how French fries will convert them into bad fats. This is how chicken from what used to be meat and protein convert them into bad fats, and the same with the fish. But this is, and I'm not even looking at commercial available version of it, but the reason why I wanted to, there's one more chemical we need to pay attention to when we measure into this, particularly in the potato chips, or any chips whatsoever. Remember I was telling you, what's the definition of a chip making? It's a lot of vegetable oil and dry, high and dry. We know that's what creates the crispy part, right? But that's what oxidizes it, and that's what creates also these compounds called acrylamide and aldehydes, and there are some other being shown to cause colon cancer. But this is not a joke. When you actually measure it, are the same compounds that have been shown to cause lung cancer when you smoke cigarettes. And all the cancers are called, you know, smoking cigarette doesn't cause just lung cancer. It causes prostate cancer, causes breast cancer, causes pancreatic cancer, bladder cancer, you know. But this is the mechanism. This is the chemical, all right? The aldehydes acrylamide, and it's been published. So then we measure, let's measure how much is this one small portion of French fries, okay? And I'm talking about the clean, healthy version. You have brand new oil, never used before, and you just do it at home from 3, you know, small size, from 1 or 2 or 3 potatoes. How much you get there? We get the equivalent of a pack of cigarettes when we measure it. This is not the oil that has been reused the whole week by a fast chain. This is just first time use, okay? That's a small portion of French fries. Published, Journal of Clinical Investigation, one of the serious journals we have. If it's there, this is it, okay? So, and that's what I need you to remember from now on, each time you eat anything fried, and this is a small part. Now, of course, you have the right to do anything you like to. I just want you to be informed. So then you don't get surprised why you're sick. That's all. All right? I'm not saying it's cumulative, and it's cumulative and does depend on how long you allow between this for your liver to deal with it, and depending whether you have diabetes or not, or fatty liver or not. If I don't have fatty liver, I'm 15 years old, I can eat 3 of those a day for a week. But if I already have diabetes or fatty liver, even half of it could put me in the hospital. It depends. All right? And then the summary slide is really scared. This is what I want you to remember. Each time you have, this is freshly squeezed orange juice that has 8 teaspoons of sugar. Okay? This is freshly squeezed. You did it yourself. You made your own juice, or you did the smoothie. Why? You killed the fiber that was there to protect you from the sugar, so it's food for your own bacteria. And you just kill the fiber when you do the smoothie or the juice. I'm not talking about commercial available orange juice, which is way higher than that. And then you are gonna, that fructose from that is being just, it's like you just let the criminal outside of the jail, okay? It's just gonna go and hit your mitochondria in the liver. It's gonna cause you fatty liver. It's dose dependent, anything over 6 teaspoons a day, and it's seen by the liver just the same as alcohol. Exactly the same free radical, the same aldehyde, disrupts the mitochondrial function, is the same. So each time you think you have a glass of freshly squeezed oranges juice, you are having 2 shots of bourbon from liver perspective, okay? Or vodka, whichever you like. I don't know. I don't have a preference. All right. It's the same with a teaspoon of raisin, dry fruits, 1 teaspoon of raisins, 8 teaspoons of sugar. That's why we like them. Please don't make the mistake to think dry fruits are healthy. Okay. Maybe 1 from time to time yourself, but not not the whole package. So this is what we do to our kids every day. Only thing, it's all good. We're good parents. No, we're not. And then we add to that, next to the orange juice, the French fries, the pancakes, you know, with the maple syrup, or just a little fruit juice. That's just fruit juice, what you see there. The same 8 teaspoons of sugar. So then we combine together, and they actually work just like alcohol. And now you don't need to memorize the words, but I promise you, they're identical substances. The alcohol, the fructose, and the vegetable oil, the omega-6s, are metabolized to oxidize this bacterial-glycan, MgO is from fructose, acetaldehyde is from alcohol, oxidative linoleic acid is the same. They accumulate in your cells, and they create that smoke and that rusting of the cells that tells the cells, time to grow, time to, we have too much, let's divide, let's, grow. It's the same thing. So now, each time you think you have, and with time it causes actually DNA mutations both in mitochondria and in your nucleus, and that's how it's the first stage actually towards cancer. So now each time you have a glass of orange juice and you give it to your kids and you give them a portion of French fries, think you just gave them to smoke a pack of cigarettes and 2 glass shots of bourbon. That's for breakfast. Or pancakes with maple syrup, Now, you can say, I'm all just making this up and ignore everything I say. Fine, good luck to you. Or you can take it seriously and try to relay this message to your kids one way or another. And no, it's not going to work because you already exposed them to that. 20% are addicted to that. So it's not going to work first day. It's not going to work the second day. But I promise you, after a year, and once they start growing up, they will remember and they will change. So it's hard to undo those habits, but it works. I promise you, I've been doing that. So, and yeah, there's, last but not least, this is the mechanism how, this is my turkey. I make a very good turkey, I promise you that. 6 hours low cooking. Yes, I do some browning. I like that creme brulee that you see there. This is the reason why we like this. It's called sweet fat. What do we need for the sweet? It's sugar, whether it's brown sugar or honey, it don't matter. What do we need for fat? A lot of times it's okay if you use butter, but if you use vegetable oil, we got a problem. Remember, turkey comes with its own vegetable oils. If you was fed that way, it don't matter, it's there. And then we're gonna heat it up at high temperature. What happens when you heat that up? Well, we create this, the browning that we so much enjoy, the taste and the smell for, is actually oxidized fructose, oxidized, omega-6s and glucose. Helps a lot with the taste. We are primed to do that. But once you do that, you age your proteins once they get into the system. It's called, actually, I don't know how this term came about on the science world. We call it advanced glycation end products, all right, which is a chemical term, but it also is aging literally what is doing to our proteins in our body. And, we have a substance that we measure every day. If you have diabetes, it's called hemoglobin 1C. That's actually just a measure of your oxidative, stuff, and how much fried food and how much vegetable oil and sugar intake you have in your diet. I see it in your bloodstream by measuring the hemoglobin 1C. All right, and that's why we're already concerned. Oh, your diabetes is not controlled. Your hemoglobin 1C is high, and that's an average of 3 months. Well, that means you're aging very fast, and not just your heart, your brain. You'll get Alzheimer's. You'll get cancers. Everything. That's why we try to do anything to try to lower that. And then, it's rusting, because that's nothing but rusting of your proteins in your body, and it's aging us, all right? But believe it or not, the biggest problem, all right, is not the fried food, is the chips, sorry. When we actually measure those guys, they're 3 times more per gram. And I told you why. Why? Eat high and dry. That's what it does. Okay? So stay away from those. You want to have some, fried chicken from time to time, but please, then you got 3 months of no chips. Okay? That's important. Why? Everybody, we go and we're worried how our skin looks like when you get old. Well, the aged products are the ones that causes this too. You don't need to go in the sun for this. You just need to eat your French fries. And then we try all different kinds of tricks for the skin. By the way, it's funny because every treatment they use so that skin looks wonderful, and they say, well, prevents skin, anti-aging and all that. That's actually, they use the same vegetable oils. Actually, it makes it look good, but then it's aging the skin much faster. There is no free ride. I'm sorry. I mean, talk about not just advertisement, propaganda. I mean, it's very simple. Anything that they tell you to do, if they say this is for your own health and it's advertised like that, stay away from that. Because it will be anything but that. Okay? All right. So, just so you have an idea, it's aging your skin. And why? Because, you know, you got the food. I got my meat there, and then I start to heat it up and fry it, or you got your kale, they became chips. You destroy your natural antioxidants, which were there to protect against heat and everything. You destroy your omega-3s, which are essential for our brain and our heart. We oxidize the protein by the sugar and by those vegetable oils. Basically, we rust, and then we're hungrier, and appetite goes up. It's like no escape. This is just showing you what happens when we measure these age levels. And this is beef version. It doesn't matter whether it's burger, fried food, you know, boiled, the frankfurter, pizza. Of course, gold standard. Everybody knows pizza is not good for you. But this is why it's not good. You oxidize your protein. In other words, you're not eating the proteins. You're not eating the fats. You are eating rusty version of it, which our body will accumulate and it cannot deal with it. That's all. It's just different. I know that's what we like, but I'm just saying. All right? And this is the chicken version. No different. The worst is the barbecue, of course. Twice worse than any fried food. Okay? Barbecue.
Sure.
But why? What's the barbecue sauce? Yeah, you see, the chef knows. It's barbecue sauce. What is it? Sugar and vegetable oil. That's what it is. And boy, it's drowning in it. Every 5 minutes you put more. Okay? That's why. So I'm sorry. I don't know. I'll have that maybe for 4th of July once a year, but that's it. Yeah. And I do, actually, because you got to celebrate. So the highest age level per gram of food was found in things that we see: crackers, chips, cookies, granola bars. All right? And there is a way how you can cook your meat to try to, and you know, at higher temperature. And you know, you can pre-marinate your meat or your fish with lemon juice. I prefer lemon juice or vinegar. This is just taste. It's up to you. For about 15-20 minutes, allows the spices to go in, and it's more flavor, but also protects you from that oxidation. Half of it is not, it's going to be half as bad, but it's way better. But if you lower the temperature at 300 degrees, it's going to be almost as good as the best cooking you can do. Okay? Just don't heat over 350 or 400 degrees. That's when you start to have those extra cancer substances, okay? And, you know, you're going to love the lemon. When we say Mediterranean diet, it's actually Mediterranean-style cooking. That's how Greeks cook, or the ones who live. They use the lemon juice with their olive oil to marinate and cook at lower temperature. And so it's not just the food, and we say Mediterranean food, but it's like Mediterranean style of cooking. I can tell you, Greeks, if you go and visit them, they'll laugh at us how we interpret Mediterranean diet for them. They really love it. That's not what we do. Completely different ingredients. You know, we say, well, the Greeks eat feta cheese and goat cheese. True, they do quite a bit. But their goats go up the mountain and they eat only a lot of just grass and special, actually, wild plants. They have a lot of actual omega-3s and antioxidants. Extremely healthy, very powerful. Their goats don't eat the same our goats eat, the same with the sheep, and the same with everything else. Not even talk about how they make their olive oil, okay? All right. Last but not least, I promise I'll clarify to you this cholesterol problem, okay? This is why you should never ever worry about that you're eating too much cholesterol in your diet. It's not the cholesterol that is the problem, okay? Here's why. We have the bad cholesterol is the LDL, okay? It's true. And you don't want to be higher than 100. But within LDL, ideally, we want to look at there are two different kinds of particles. There's a large, what we call buoyant LDL, that and there's a small dense particle, and that's the oxidized. It's called highly oxidized LDL or small dense LDL. And there are ways how to sort that out. You'll have to do a special test that nobody does. We just do the cumulative total LDL, what you see in the regular blood test. I can order it for certain patients if they ask, I do it. But I don't need to do it because there is a surrogate test that we have that I'll tell you about it that we don't need to. But bottom line, 80% of your LDL is the large, and it's fine. It's loaded with saturated fat. It's loaded with this ApoB100, which is the receptor that circulates and gives cholesterol and triglycerides to the whole body. No problem with that. That's actually the LDL that's affected by our cholesterol pill, by statins, and by what we call Repatha or PCSK9 inhibitors. And indeed, most of the beneficial effects are from lowering that. But the problem is the other one, the small dense LDL. Why? Because the small dense LDL, it's oxidized. Okay, so I already taught you what's an oxidized component or protein in our body. It's you oxidize the proteins, which is glycated, or you oxidize your cholesterol. Well, the source of the protein is glycated. In other words, the ApoB, it's on this small dense LDL. It's oxidized by the glucose, by the fructose, and these are fructose and glucose. You see, fructose is 7 times more oxidized or more rusting from the orange juice than the glucose, and the metabolic product of fructose, which is methyl glyoxal, is 250-fold higher. That's why we need to stay away from sugar, because basically it just converts our whole body into a rusting engine, not just in the liver, but everywhere, in the bloodstream, and then it starts rusting your cholesterol particles. But because we measure cholesterol particles, say, oh, cholesterol is the one that's the bad guy. No, cholesterol just needs to be transported. We need the cholesterol for all our cell membranes. Actually, less than 2% of all cholesterol is in the bloodstream. Our cells make. The brain doesn't see any of this. Brain makes its own cholesterol. Okay? So whatever we do, that we say, oh, cholesterol from food is going to do this. No, cholesterol from food is going to do this. If I feed in the same time sugar that will oxidize the protein that carries the cholesterol, which is ApoB. Why is that? Because if I oxidize that protein, it won't know to go back to the liver, so I can clear it out from the circulation. And then it hangs around until eventually gets small, dense, and eventually gets into our arteries, into our brain, and everything else. And then the second is if cholesterol comes with vegetable oils, that linoleic acid is oxidized. It's called H&E. We measure it actually in the atherosclerotic plaques in humans and animals. And what happens is cholesterol binds to this linoleic acid. It's oxidized. Then the oxidized linoleic acid passes the free radical to cholesterol. Now cholesterol gets oxidized. Now cholesterol is a bad cholesterol. But we do not know if that cholesterol came from food or came just because you had diabetes or you ate too much French fries. It's hard to know. All right. All I know is the only fat that gets oxidized is not the butter-based fat. Okay, it's the one that comes from chips or the vegetable oils. That's all I know. Sorry. See, so the coconut oil, ghee, the butter is saturated fat that cannot oxidize to oxidize the actual cholesterol and convert it into a real bad cholesterol. All right, and it's only the vegetable oil. Why? Because that's the source of my linoleic acid. Okay? All right? And it gets oxidized. So then you say, well, okay, why don't we just separate these LDLs into the really, like you said, particle A and B, and tell me my B particles in my spawn? I don't need to. Because we have, with the cholesterol, with the LDL comes also, we call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. The bad is the LDL, the good is the HDL, and the bad is the triglycerides. And all you need to know that you have small dense LDL and you're towards diabetes and fatty liver is to look at this ratio between triglycerides and HDL. If it's more than 2.5, then you have the really bad LDL cholesterol. That's cooking and burning there. Easy. We have it there. Now, doctors don't know that, I can tell you, 99%. I've been trying to teach the same lecture to our residents. It's not in our guidelines. The guidelines stay away from this. Why? It's very simple. We try to, and I don't blame why the doctor guidelines don't say that, because they want to do evidence-based medicine. So what happens? We have drugs to try to just lower the triglycerides. That's called Tricor. and it didn't do anything to prevent the heart attacks. We tried to have drugs to increase, improve this ratio, go up on the HDL. We had to stop the trials because there was worse mortality. In other words, these are a marker of a disease. They're not the cause of the disease. If you just want to change your triglyceride and HDL, you need to look into what's causing this, which is the wrong food. Fried food, vegetables, and sugar. Once they are converted into liver is going to spit them out. It tells that out, but once they are in the bloodstream, there's nothing I can do about it. I can play as much game, try to lower and increasing them. That's not what the problem is. The only way you can change this for real is with food, because that's what's the beginning, all right? So, hope this is useful. And the last part that really matters, I show you how sweet fat can, as once you heat it up, can cause you coronary disease, liver, diabetes. But now, what about the brain? I want to fix this. Well, it's got a problem. The assault of these foods on the brain is even worse. That's why it's so hard to give it up, all right? But just know that our brain, you like it so much, and you want it so much, more and more, because you just ate and you're hungry again. Why? Because the brain just said, hey, you fooled me. There's no food here. That's not food. That's why we're hungry again. It's actually not food for the brain.